Hello, miladies of inestimable value. The most silent minds are often the loudest battlegrounds. Psychologists estimate that we think over 6,000 thoughts a day, but Sigma females don't just think, they strategize. While everyone else is broadcasting their lives on social media, her brain is quietly working like a supercomputer in stealth mode. You might see her sipping coffee, scrolling her phone, or zoning out at a party, but don't be fooled. In those quiet moments, her mind is dissecting people's motives, rehearsing escape routes, plotting her next power move, and sometimes wondering why humans still don't know how to microwave pizza properly. What makes it even more unsettling is this. Sigma females do their most fascinating mental work when no one is watching. And if you think she's not paying attention to you, she probably already has your entire personality filed under a mental folder named predictable. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a mind that most people never get to see. This is how Sigma females' brains actually work when you're not looking. Number 1. She plans legacy, not moments. She doesn't live for the moment in the way most people do. While others chase instant highs, cheap attention, or temporary thrills, her mind is playing a different game. A Sigma female's brain is wired to filter everything through one haunting question. Will this matter in the long run? If the answer is no, she quietly discards it, even if it looks shiny and irresistible to everyone else. This is why she often feels detached from trends, gossip, or meaningless drama, because to her it adds nothing to the bigger story she's building for her life. Her brain is like an editor with ruthless precision. Every decision, every relationship, every opportunity has to justify its place in the narrative she's crafting. If it doesn't, it gets cut. She's not cold for walking away. She's efficient. This is why people often misunderstand her as distant or aloof, when in truth, she's simply unwilling to waste pages of her life story on footnotes. Legacy, not moments, drives her. While others are obsessed with being seen today, she's more concerned about being remembered tomorrow. She invests in things that last: knowledge, self-respect, deep bonds, quiet wins that compound over time. She knows fleeting applause dies the second the crowd turns away, but the foundation she lays in solitude will outlive the noise. This kind of thinking makes her both intimidating and misunderstood. People can't figure out why she doesn't care about keeping up, when in reality she's already thinking 10 chapters ahead. Her brain doesn't crave the sugar rush of temporary validation. It craves the nutrition of meaning. This is why she can walk away from shallow praise without flinching, why she resists being pulled into competitions that don't matter, and why she sometimes disappears from environments others cling to. She's not running away, she's pruning. And pruning to her is power. What makes her different is that she knows time is the only currency that doesn't refund. Every yes must buy her something that adds weight to her life story. That's why she leaves people confused when she declines what looks irresistible to them, because she sees the bigger cost they don't. When her brain is working in private, it isn't chasing a moment, it's engraving a legacy. And that's why when you look back, she's never where you left her. She's always further ahead. Number 2, she runs reverse psychology on herself. She doesn't let her brain get lazy. While most people are wired to pick comfort, ease, and shortcuts, the Sigma female has trained herself to flip that instinct on its head. She runs reverse psychology on herself, convincing her mind to crave the hard road instead of the easy one. If something feels too simple, she instantly questions its value. If it feels demanding, uncomfortable, or even intimidating, she leans in, because she knows that's where growth hides. It's not about being a masochist or loving pain. It's about refusing to become predictable, soft, or stagnant. She understands that the mind, like a muscle, weakens when it's unchallenged. So instead of falling into the trap of instant gratification, she rewires her brain to desire long-term gains that only come from struggle. While others treat resistance as a stop sign, she treats it as a green light. The harder it is, the more she wants it, because difficulty is proof that most people won't follow, and that gives her an edge. This mental trickery means she thrives in situations others avoid. If there's a task everyone else complains about, She takes it as a personal challenge. If there's a skill that looks impossible, she decides it's worth mastering. And if a path seems uncertain or risky, she sees it as an opportunity to sharpen her instincts while everyone else stays in the comfort zone. By turning struggle into something she desires, she keeps herself sharper than the crowd. She doesn't compete by doing what everyone else is doing. She competes by running where most people won't even step. Her reverse psychology isn't about self-punishment. It's about staying ahead of the curve. She's not addicted to comfort. She's addicted to evolution. That's why, when people wonder how she stays mentally strong, disciplined, and hard to break, the secret isn't willpower alone. It's this private game she plays with her own mind, tricking it into wanting the uphill climb. For her, resistance isn't a barrier, it's fuel. And in a world obsessed with shortcuts, her brain finds power in choosing the long road that almost no one else dares to take. Number 3. She warms up to betrayal before it happens. She doesn't wait for the knife to hit her back before she recognizes betrayal. Her brain picks up on the smallest inconsistencies, the change in tone when her name comes up, the hesitation in someone's eyes, the subtle mismatch between their words and their actions. Where most people ignore these signs until it's too late, the Sigma female processes them instantly and stores them like warnings on her internal radar. She doesn't panic, and she doesn't overreact. Instead, she quietly starts preparing for the moment the mask eventually slips. By the time betrayal actually arrives, she's already rehearsed it in her mind. She's already distanced herself emotionally, already recalculated her options, already cut the invisible ties that would have held her hostage. That's why people are often shocked at how easily she can walk away without the typical theatrics of heartbreak, anger, or begging for explanations. What looks like coldness is really preparation. She warmed up to the sting long before the blade was ever raised. This ability makes her seem almost unnervingly calm in situations that would devastate most people. When others are drowning in disbelief, asking, "How could they do this to me?" she's already 2 steps ahead, thinking, "Of course this was coming, I just needed to see it play out." Her brain doesn't need closure because she already closed the chapter in silence weeks or months before the betrayal surfaced. It's not cynicism that drives this, it's clarity. She knows human nature isn't always consistent, and she doesn't expect loyalty to be permanent. That's why her heart doesn't break the same way others do. It bends, it braces, it prepares. And because of that, she rarely gets blindsided. The real power in this mindset is that it gives her freedom. People can't hold her hostage with their disloyalty because she's already learned to detach before their betrayal has the chance to wound her deeply. It's like she lives in a state of quiet readiness, knowing that masks eventually crack and intentions eventually reveal themselves. By the time it happens, she's already on her way out the door, untouched, unshaken, and 1 step ahead. Number 4, she records tone, not words. She doesn't just listen, she observes. Most people assume that when she stares off or appears to be daydreaming, she's disengaged. But in reality, her brain is working like a radar, picking up subtleties everyone else misses. Words are easy to manipulate, easy to hide behind. Tone, however, is harder to fake. The slight hesitation, the rise and fall of pitch, the tension in a syllable, all of it tells her far more than the words themselves ever could. Her mind maps these tonal shifts carefully, comparing how someone speaks to her versus how they speak to others. Does their voice soften when talking to her but harden when others enter the conversation? Do they unconsciously mirror her speech, or do they snap into a defensive rhythm when challenged? Each nuance is logged and stored, creating a mental profile that grows sharper with every interaction. This attention to tone allows her to read intentions, uncover hidden motives, and anticipate reactions before they're voiced. While others are distracted by flashy words, she's decoding sincerity, deception, and emotional undercurrents with surgical precision. Even if she chooses to respond with silence or neutrality, she's already gained an advantage, understanding what drives the other person and how they operate under subtle pressure. It's why people often underestimate her. They think she's lost in thought, but she's actually collecting intelligence that will guide her decisions, interactions, and boundaries. Her ability to record tone, rather than rely solely on content, gives her clarity and foresight that most people never develop. For the Sigma female, listening isn't enough. She interprets, compares, and internalizes. Words can lie, but tone rarely does. That's why she rarely gets blindsided and why her presence carries quiet authority. She doesn't need to dominate conversations. Her brain already holds the unspoken truths others leave behind in their tone. And she knows exactly how to use that knowledge to navigate the world on her terms. Number 5. She stores receipts, not revenge. She doesn't waste her energy plotting dramatic revenge schemes or fantasizing about teaching someone a lesson. That's too obvious, too messy, and frankly, beneath her. Instead, her brain works like a meticulous archive. Every broken promise, every sly insult, every contradiction between what someone says and what they actually do gets filed away, quietly, neatly, without anyone realizing she's taking notes. She doesn't shout about it, she doesn't confront immediately, she just stores it. Her receipts aren't always literal screenshots, though sometimes they are. More often, they're mental records so sharp that months or even years later she can recall exact words, dates, and expressions. And the beauty of it is she doesn't weaponize them impulsively. She waits. She understands that time has a way of putting people in situations where their past actions will come back to bite them. And when that moment arrives, her receipts do the talking. This is why she rarely looks rattled when others lie or try to twist reality. While most people argue to prove they're right, she doesn't have to. She already knows she's holding evidence that, when revealed, will make her look calm and controlled while the other person crumbles. She doesn't chase validation through anger. She gains it through precision. What unsettles people about her is the silence. They mistake her lack of outward reaction for weakness, not realizing she's quietly building a case in her head. By the time she speaks, it's too late to spin the story. Her facts are airtight. That's why those who underestimate her often regret it most. Her mind thrives on the long game. Revenge burns fast, but proof has patience. Proof waits for the right stage, the right audience, the right context. And when it finally surfaces, it doesn't just bruise an ego, it destroys credibility. For the Sigma female, that's the ultimate victory. Not the scream, not the slap, not the public meltdown, just the cold, undeniable presentation of truth that nobody can run from. In her world, silence is not surrender, it's storage. And when the time comes, her receipts speak louder than any revenge ever could. Number 6. She dismantles compliments before accepting them. When most people hear a compliment, they take it at face value, smile, and let it stroke their ego. For the Sigma female, it's never that simple. Her brain doesn't allow praise to slip past unexamined. The moment someone flatters her, she quietly dissects it like a surgeon with a scalpel. Why now? Why me? What's their angle? She doesn't reject kindness outright, but she refuses to accept it blindly. It's not cynicism for the sake of being difficult, it's survival. She knows the world runs on hidden agendas, and too often flattery is just currency in disguise. A compliment can be a lure, a softener before a request, or a subtle way to disarm her defenses. That's why her brain treats every kind word like a potential Trojan horse. Instead of letting it inflate her ego, she flips it around and inspects what's hiding inside. If the compliment comes from someone consistent, genuine, and without ulterior motives, she'll let it land. But even then, she processes it slowly, almost reluctantly, because she refuses to let her sense of self depend on external validation. To her, compliments are nice, but they're not proof of worth. Proof lives in her actions, her independence, her results, not in the sweet words someone tosses her way. This makes her resistant to manipulation in a way that unsettles people. Many rely on charm to win trust, to sneak past defenses, or to gain favor. With her, charm bounces off. Flattery doesn't soften her, it sharpens her. The more excessive or untimely the praise, the more suspicious she becomes. Instead of blushing or melting, she files the interaction away as data. Noted, this person knows how to play the game. Her brain has learned that compliments can be traps, and she would rather dismantle them than be disarmed by them. It's not that she doesn't appreciate kind words, she just refuses to be bought by them. Where others get drunk on praise, she sips it carefully, if at all. And that's what makes her so hard to influence. You can't bribe her ego. She knows who she is without anyone having to tell her, and that inner certainty makes her immune to the games flattery is designed to play. Number 7. She runs emotional simulations. Her mind is like a private theater where every possible scenario gets played out long before reality ever arrives. When most people stumble into situations unprepared, the Sigma female has already rehearsed them 100 different ways. She runs emotional simulations, quietly predicting how people will react if she pulls back, takes a risk, fails spectacularly, or rises higher than anyone expected. To her, this isn't overthinking, it's insurance. If she decides to withdraw from someone's life, she doesn't just imagine the silence that follows. She calculates the stages, the confusion, the denial, the anger, the eventual acceptance. If she takes a bold step toward success, she runs the emotional math on how others will cheer her in public, but envy her in private. If she fails, she imagines who will secretly celebrate, who will console her, and who will quietly distance themselves. By the time any of these things actually happen, she's not shocked. She's ready. This mental rehearsal gives her a calmness that unsettles people. They expect her to be blindsided, to panic, to scramble for footing when life throws a curveball. Instead, she handles it with unnerving composure because in her head, she's already lived it before. The moment others are saying, "I didn't see that coming," she's thinking, "I knew this was possibility number 3. What makes this powerful is that it shields her from dependency on anyone's reaction. She doesn't need people to cheer her for her wins because she's already considered that they might not. She doesn't crumble under betrayal because she's already seen it play out in her mind. She doesn't get stuck in disappointment because her brain always has a backup version of events ready to soften the blow. Running emotional simulations isn't about being paranoid. It's about emotional preparedness. Life rarely catches her off guard because she's mentally weathered the storms before they ever arrived. And that's why she seems so unshakable. To others, she looks like someone who always lands on her feet. The truth is simpler. She already practiced the fall, the landing, and the recovery in her head long before the ground ever gave way. Number 8. She collects power in small denials. Her strength doesn't come from chasing every opportunity, pleasing everyone, or being endlessly available. It comes from the refusals, the quiet, deliberate no's that sharpen her edges and remind her that her energy is hers alone to control. Where most people gain validation by saying yes, yes to invitations they don't want, yes to gossip they don't care about, yes to obligations that drain them, the Sigma female feels a deeper kind of satisfaction from withholding. Her brain is wired to see every denial as a victory, not a loss. When someone tries to pull her into pointless drama, she refuses. When she's nudged to laugh at someone else just to fit in, she stays silent. When she senses manipulation creeping in under the disguise of charm, she cuts the cord. And instead of feeling guilty for saying no, she feels stronger, because every rejection of nonsense is an affirmation of her autonomy. This is where her power multiplies. Most people fear the fallout of saying no, the awkward silence, the disappointment, the potential conflict. She doesn't. Her brain has flipped the script. She doesn't see denial as confrontation, she sees it as conservation. Every no protects her time, her focus, her energy, and over time those refusals accumulate like interest in a bank account, making her richer in clarity and control. What unsettles people is how calmly she does it. There's no drama, no explanation, no defensive over-talking, just a clean, firm refusal. The more others try to push her boundaries, the more her quiet no cuts through the noise like a blade. And she knows exactly why it feels so satisfying, because with every denial she proves to herself that she cannot be baited, tricked, or dragged into someone else's circus. Her brain doesn't crave approval. It craves freedom. And freedom to her is built one denial at a time. While others waste their yeses on things that dilute them, she stacks her no's into a fortress. That's why she seems untouchable. Because every time she refuses something that doesn't serve her, she isn't losing, she's collecting power. Number 9. She treats social energy like currency. To her, social energy isn't free. It's as valuable as money, maybe even more. Every interaction comes with a cost or a return, and her brain is constantly running the numbers. When she talks to someone, she's not just listening to words, She's gauging how the exchange leaves her feeling afterward. Does it weigh her down, or does it leave her lighter, sharper, and more alive? That calculation determines who gets her time again and who doesn't. If an interaction drains her, through gossip, negativity, fake enthusiasm, or shallow noise, she quietly flags it as a bad investment. She doesn't waste time trying to fix the dynamic or give endless chances. She just cuts her losses and moves on. To her, lingering in draining spaces is the same as throwing money into a black hole. You don't get it back, and you only end up poorer. On the other hand, if someone leaves her sharper, if the exchange sparks ideas, ignites laughter, or brings genuine calm, she marks that as a profitable return. Those people become worth her investment. She gives them more of her time, more of her energy, more of her presence, because she knows they multiply her inner wealth instead of depleting it. This mindset makes her social life unusually precise. She doesn't collect people for numbers, clout, or image. She curates her circle the way a strategist manages assets, carefully, deliberately, with an eye on long-term value. That's why she often has fewer connections than others, but much stronger ones. Every relationship in her world has to justify its cost, or it quietly gets phased out. People sometimes mistake this for coldness, but it's actually clarity. She knows that just like money, energy spent recklessly leaves you broke, and she refuses to go bankrupt by overspending on people who only drain her. This is why she moves through life with such balance. She doesn't need to network endlessly. She doesn't chase attention, and she doesn't cling to people out of fear of being alone. Her brain has taught her something most people never realize. Protecting your social energy is the truest form of wealth. Number 10. She studies silence like it's a language. Silence doesn't scare her, it sharpens her. While most people feel awkward when a conversation stalls, rushing to fill the air with chatter or nervous jokes, the Sigma female leans into the quiet. Her brain treats silence like a hidden language, a code that reveals more than words ever could. She knows that when silence stretches, people expose themselves. Some brag to mask discomfort, some overshare to prove their worth, and others twitch or stumble because they can't stand the weight of unspoken tension. She notices it all. The shift in posture, the unnecessary details, the way someone's voice rises just to escape the quiet. To her, these are confessions, slips of truth that no direct question could have extracted. Where most people think communication is about talking, she knows it's about what people reveal when they can't stand not talking. Her silence is never empty. It's intentional. In a world obsessed with noise, her ability to stay still and say nothing becomes a kind of power. People underestimate it until they realize how much they've given away just to break the quiet. She doesn't have to interrogate. She lets silence do the work for her, and the results are always more honest than rehearsed answers. This is why she often unnerves people without trying. They can't figure out why they talk more around her than they intended, why they confess things they normally keep guarded, or why they feel exposed in her presence. It's not manipulation. It's mastery of human behavior. She understands that silence isn't a void, it's a mirror. People project their insecurities, their egos, and their secrets into it, and she's sharp enough to catch every reflection. Her brain knows that words can be crafted, rehearsed, even weaponized. But silence? That's raw, unfiltered, and impossible to fake. That's why she values it so highly. For her, silence isn't awkward, it's fluent. It's her sharpest interrogation tool, and she wields it with the kind of control that makes even the loudest talkers reveal more than they ever planned. Number 11. She tests loyalty without announcing it. She never takes loyalty at face value. Words mean little to her because anyone can promise allegiance when it's convenient. Instead, her brain prefers to test it in silence, planting invisible tripwires that others don't even know they've stepped over until it's too late. She'll withhold a piece of information, not because she needs to keep a secret, but because she wants to see if it leaks. She'll ask for a small favor, not because she can't handle it herself, but because she wants to measure how much someone's actions align with their claims. These tests aren't grand or dramatic. They're subtle, often so ordinary that people don't realize they're being observed. But to her, each one is like data, quietly logged into her mental archive. If you fail, she won't call you out. She'll smile, nod, and carry on as if nothing happened. But in her head, a switch has flipped. Trust downgraded, access limited, bond quietly weakened. What makes her so effective at this is her patience. She doesn't need to expose someone right away. She's content to let them reveal themselves over time, all while she watches from a distance with unnerving calm. By the time a person's disloyalty becomes obvious to everyone else, she's already accounted for it and adjusted her position. That's why she rarely looks blindsided. Her private tripwires warned her long before the explosion. And when people pass her tests, that's when she invests deeper. She remembers the quiet moments when someone kept her secret, stood up for her in her absence, or chose consistency over convenience. Her loyalty, once earned, is solid because she's already measured it against reality. Her approach may seem calculating, but it's not malicious, it's protective. She knows her trust is valuable, and she won't gamble it on people who can't carry its weight. To her, loyalty isn't about big declarations or dramatic gestures. It's proven in the small, unseen choices people make when no one's clapping. And because her brain never forgets who passed and who failed, she builds a circle that's rare, solid, and nearly impossible to infiltrate. Number 12. She practices disappearing in her head. She lives with an escape plan tucked into the back of her mind. Even in the middle of conversations, family gatherings, or workplace dynamics, her brain runs silent drills about how quickly and cleanly she could disappear if she ever needed to. It's not paranoia, it's preparedness. Where others attach themselves so deeply that leaving becomes unthinkable, the Sigma female rehearses detachment until it feels like second nature. Her mind sketches scenarios that others would never consider. She thinks about what she would pack if she had to walk away tomorrow, which connections she'd cut, which ones she'd leave on read, and how to do it all without leaving a single breadcrumb for anyone to chase. This isn't because she always intends to leave, but because the very thought of having that freedom makes her feel untouchable. To her, knowing she can vanish at will is power. While others anchor themselves with obligations, reputation, or the fear of starting over, her brain quietly strips those weights away in rehearsal. She doesn't fantasize about being rescued. She imagines rescuing herself. And the fascinating part is that this mental practice makes her relationships stronger, not weaker. Because she doesn't cling, she can engage with people by choice, not desperation. She's there because she wants to be, not because she has no other option. This ability unsettles people who sense it in her. They pick up on the fact that she could walk away at any time, and that nothing, status, money, affection, or promises truly chains her down. It makes her unpredictable, and unpredictability is a kind of quiet dominance. Her disappearing act isn't about running away from life. It's about refusing to ever feel trapped by it. Every time her brain rehearses a clean exit, she reminds herself that no environment, no person, and no circumstance owns her completely. And when you can vanish without hesitation, you move through the world with a kind of calm defiance, untouchable, unbound, and free in a way most people never are. The Sigma female's mind is a landscape most people will never fully see. Every glance, every silence, every thought she allows herself to entertain is deliberate, strategic, and precise. She runs audits on those around her, stores anger and facts like currency, and practices detachment and disappearance. Not out of fear, but out of foresight. Her imagination becomes a war room, her denials a source of power, and even her social interactions are measured as investments. She doesn't chase validation, flattery, or comfort. Instead, she curates her energy, her trust, and her presence with surgical precision, always thinking several steps ahead, always shaping her reality before the world forces her hand. What makes her extraordinary isn't just her intelligence or independence. It's her ability to move unseen, to calculate without alerting others, and to turn moments that would overwhelm most people into opportunities for clarity, growth, and control. She is not reactive, she is preemptive. She doesn't follow the crowd, she observes, evaluates, and masters the patterns that others blindly stumble into. Understanding a Sigma female's mind is understanding a mind that refuses mediocrity, refuses manipulation, and refuses to be controlled. She is relentless in her pursuit of autonomy, wisdom, and influence, and she achieves it quietly, without drama or fanfare. If you found this deep dive into the Sigma female mind as fascinating as we intended, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button to join the journey. Like if it resonated, comment with your thoughts or experiences, and share it with anyone who needs to see the truth behind the quiet power of a Sigma female. Your support helps us bring more extraordinary insights straight to you.